So you got your fresh equipment profile set up for batch sparge or fly sparge brewing, and now you want to set up your mash profiles. This is a pretty easy step that I think is more important than even having the proper equipment plugged in, at least if you're interested in hitting all of your numbers. So go to Profiles and click Mash. When you open it, what you're going to see is a whole bunch of stuff that Brad has already put in there. And you're going to use these. This is the beauty of the way that I do this, I think. So you're going to see full body, light body, medium body. You might even see like a medium full, stuff like that. These single infusion ones are the ones we're going to play with a little bit. So here's what I recommend doing first. Pick one of them. If you're doing batch sparge, that's what I recommend. And copy and paste it 6 times. You want 6 versions of the same thing. So I do Command C, Command V, Command V, Command V, and you're going to have 6 versions of the same exact thing, whatever it is. Now what you're going to want to do, this is the step-by-step that I like to do, is open it up and just change the name of it first. Now I'm not going to go through and change the names of 6 versions of this. What you can do is just name them something similar to what I did. If you put a number in the beginning, they're going to be at the top of your list, which makes them easier to find later on. So I recommend doing that. Set up your mash profiles. You're not doing anything to the actual profile yet. You're just renaming things to have names that indicate what the mash temp is here. So the lowest to highest. And if you do a 2-degree difference, that'll work. So go ahead and set them up to do that. If you need to press pause, do that first. It's going to make things a whole lot easier. So then what you're going to do is you're going to go in, start with the top one, and regardless of what the temp was of the one that you copy and pasted, you can change that in here. So leave all of your temperature stuff alone. That's not going to matter here right now. Leave all of the mash properties alone. That doesn't matter right now. If you're doing batch sparge, you're going to go down and select all 3 of these. That's the first thing I want you to do. And make sure this says 90%. This is good because you're going to get a nice full mash tun, potentially, without overflowing it. It's never going to tell you to add more water than will fit in your mash tun. Okay, so with each one of these profiles that you've just created, you're going to go in and change one thing, and that's your step temperature. So you can create as many profiles as you want. If you want a profile for each 1 degree, you can do that. What I like to do is I have one for 148 degrees and I go up to 158 degrees. Now just keep in mind, the lower the mash temp, the more fermentable the wort, and the thinner the beer in the end is going to be, potentially. So a light body is 148 degrees, a light to medium body is 150, and so on. Now let's say you want to mash a beer at 146, or you want to mash a beer at 160. You can go in and change that later on down the line when you're designing the beer. So leave that alone for now. If you want to create mash profiles with those lower and higher temps, go ahead and do it. That's up to you. You're going to notice step time. I haven't changed them. I do a 60-minute mash on everything, and I've never had an issue with conversion. So this is, in my mind, this is more of a recommendation than it is a requirement. Your water to grain ratio, just leave this stuff alone. All of this can be changed when you're designing your beer. And with batch sparge, the water to grain ratio doesn't seem to be a huge factor. So once you get all that plugged in, click OK, and you're going to go and do that for each one of these. So if you're using my naming scheme, you're going to go in and open it up and make sure when you open this that it's 150. So go ahead and change all of those step temps. Make sure these are checked for each one of those. You want everything to look exactly the same except for that temperature. All right, so now you've got all of your mash profiles plugged in and how to use them, the fun part. So you're going to go open up a recipe. You design this recipe. You've got your new equipment profile all set up. You're going to click mash, and usually this is going to have one of Brad's presets plugged in. So you want to go and select yours. You've got it set up for your system now. You're going to go in and click yours. A couple of things. Never, ever, ever select this. This is going to screw you up. You're never going to hit your mash temps if you use this. At least in my experience, it's more of a pain in the ass than anything else. So unclick that, and you're going to, the other thing you have to do is get an accurate measurement of your grain temperature. So many people I know forget to do this and wonder why they're not hitting their mash temps. So make sure you stick your thermometer in your grains, leave it there for a couple of minutes to stabilize, and then plug that into here. If you pay attention to your strike temp here, watch what happens if you lower the number. So let's say your grains are 60 degrees. That bumps it up almost 2 degrees. So you got to pay attention to that. Okay, so you got your strike temp, you're doing a batch sparge, so you've got 2 different volumes of water that you're adding. Let's say this is 3.77, that's kind of an annoying number. One thing you can do is go in and add 0.23. The reason this doesn't match this is because I've got 1/8 of a gallon dead space in my mash tun, and it calculates for that. But if you add, let's say, 0.23, so that's going to be 3.88, you'll see now I've got a 4-gallon strike addition, and then 4.75 gallon, 4.72, I'll just round that up, sparge volume. Since my equipment profile is all set up and precise, these are the numbers that are going to get me to where I want to be later on down the line. Now, 162.5, let's assume my grain temp is 60 degrees and that I'm making this recipe. This is telling me that I need a strike at 162.5. What that means is that if I have 162 degree water and I add 60 degree grains to it, I'm going to end up at 152. So most of us are mashing in coolers that when we add this water to that cooler, it's going to lose heat. So rather than adjusting the temperature for adjusting for the temperature of our equipment, what we need to do is preheat our mash tun. So make sure when you see this, add another 7 degrees to it or so. So warm this up to 170 degrees, put it all in your mash tun, and close the lid for a couple of minutes to preheat the mash tun. You're immediately going to lose 2 to 3 degrees. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll stir that strike water until it gets down to about 163. And then I mash in, stir up the grains, and as soon as it hits 152, I close the lid and walk away. It's time. Now I'm mashing. It's that easy. For that to work, though, you have to leave this unchecked. I know I'm saying it a lot. You have to have an accurate measure of your grain temperature, and you have to preheat your mash tun. So make sure you add another 5 to 7 degrees to this. If it's the winter time, sometimes I'll preheat it almost 10 degrees because you're losing heat as you're transferring your hot liquor. And that's how you set up a mash profile for batch sparge. It's pretty simple. You just have to make sure you follow a few simple steps. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to chat with you about your particular system. Cheers.